Hey writers, it's Renee Latulippe at the Lyrical Language Lab, and today we are having a book look, looking at Give Me Back My Bones by Kim Norman. So don't go away. All right, today we have for our book look, Give Me Back My Bones by Kim Norman, illustrated by Bob Kolar. And I wanted to look at rhyme scheme in particular in this book because it's kind of brilliant. So let's take a look. All right, I'm sharing about 4 stanzas from this book today. And let me just read them. They're not connected, so you're not going to get the whole thing. But basically, this is a poem picture book, meaning it is a poem, a long picture book length poem of, I think, 20 stanzas or so. And it doesn't tell a story in, like a regular picture book with plot and characters and whatever else. It is a skeleton pirate in search of his bones that have been scattered all over the ocean floor. So it goes from, looking for his head to looking for his toes and all that other good stuff. So in the beginning, he's like this. I'm not sure if you can see that. He's like this, scattered all over the place. And it's also very cleverly nonfiction because as we're reading, we're also learning about anatomy. So very clever on many fronts, this book of Kim's. So let's take a look. I have up on the screen here 4 stanzas, and you'll see right from the get-go that she establishes a very specific meter and a very specific rhyme scheme that I imagine probably drove her insane after a while. Because sometimes we get these rhyme schemes and we can paint ourselves into a corner. I've done it myself, and I'm like, why did I choose that difficult rhyme scheme? But she is a pro. So let's look at this first stanza. A stormy night has passed here and toppled every mast here. The ocean flowing fast here has scattered all my bones. So obviously the first thing that we notice are the first 3 lines are ending in here, here, here. That's not the rhyme though, right? Here and here and here don't rhyme. It's the same word. Where the rhyme is the word right before that, past, mast, and fast. And those are stressed beats because a rhyme has to be on a stressed beat. And then she ends the stanza with an unrhymed line. There's no rhyme for this line anywhere in the book. It's just there. So you've got 3 lines of rhyme and then no rhyme. And I love this rhyme scheme. It's really unusual. It's different. It's so nice to see when you've got something. As soon as she posted this on Facebook, I think it was, I had to comment. She posted like 1 stanza or something. I had to comment that it was so refreshing to see such a clever rhyme scheme. So this is something we should strive for, to surprise the reader with something they haven't heard before. And now let's take a look at what's going on here. So let's look at the meter for a second. We have a stormy night has passed here. Look at that consistency. And then we have and toppled every mast here. Then we have the ocean flowing fast here. And then there's a tiny change, I think, I'm not sure, has scattered all my bones. And there is a tiny change. And, again, it's so consistent all the way through. First line, the first 3 lines, a stormy night has passed here. We have iambic trimeter with an extra unstressed beat at the end. And that is called a feminine ending, where you end on a downbeat instead of an upbeat. So the first 3 lines in the entire book, every single stanza, have a feminine ending. They end on a downbeat, and the rhyme is here, past, mast, fast. And then we still have iambic trimeter, but the change is there's no more extra unstressed beat at the end. That is not completely consistent all the way through because she's working with some, the names of bones. So it's kind of difficult to, smush them all into that exact thing. But the whole point is that every last line doesn't rhyme. So she gets the anatomy in there, and this is very clever because it's hard to rhyme, ulna and radius and humerus and scapula. So cleverly she found a way that she doesn't have to rhyme any of the bone words. So good job, Kim. I'm totally in love with this book. So we've got iambic, trimeter, all the way through. Now, some people, I actually spoke to Kim about this book because she was saying that some people are talking about, oh, look, how interesting she rhymes on the same word in every line. The rhyme has to be a stressed syllable. That's just the rule. And so the stressed syllable isn't here, as I already mentioned. It's that word right before the feminine, right before the feminine ending. Let's just call it that. So past, mast, fast. And that's carried on throughout. Let's look at stanza 3. And this is where it starts. When she starts talking about the bones is really where it starts to really get clever. Now I need my gnaw bone. My chicken, that should be a chicken. My chicken chomping sawbone. I'll starve without my jawbone. I miss my mandible. I mean, come on. So we've got gnaw, saw, jaw. It doesn't matter that every line ends in bone. That's not the rhyme. It's gnaw, saw, jaw. If these were all, like jawbone is one word. It's a multisyllable word. And the primary stress in jawbone is on jaw. It's a jawbone. It's not a jawbone. It's a jawbone. So imagine that all of these other things were one word, right? It's the same thing. Gnawbone, sawbone, jawbone. The rhyme is not on bone. It's on the stressed syllable. And something else that she does all throughout this book is use alliteration to, although there's no rhyme for the bone, for an anatomical word, she does use alliteration to sort of tie those things together. So in this case, I miss my mandible. Then let's try stanza 7. Find my upper arm bone, the shield my face from harm bone, that armpit of alarm bone. I hanker for my humerus. Again, hanker for the humerus. So we have here how clever and how much work it must have taken to come up with all these ways to describe the humerus, or the jawbone. That's what's so much fun about this, is the continually surprising ways that she came up to describe these things. So it's just my upper arm bone. All right. The shield my face from harm bone. That's so perfect. And the armpit of alarm, she adds in a lot of humor here as well. I hanker for my humerus. So let's go to the last one. And again, where are the rhymes? Arm, harm, alarm. There's nothing repeated here. Past, mast, fast, gnaw, saw, jaw, arm, harm, alarm. They're all unique rhymes. All right. I hanker for my humerus. In this case, we do have 4 stressed beats on the last line instead of 3. And that is a variation because up until this time, we've had trimeter, right? But here we have, I hanker for my humerus. There are 4. I miss my mandible. That's 3. Has scattered all my bones. That's 3. So this is a variation. However, in this book, every single stanza has its own spread, which is fabulous in the first place. I mean, the art is wonderful. So, here's the gnawbone, jawbone illustration, and it's got its own spread. So because each one is on its own page, I didn't even notice that there was that extra stressed beat in that particular stanza. And that was stanza 7 for the humerus, right? That's her humorous page with all the fish. I need like a widescreen head or something. So that was one tiny variation. And then I went to stanza 13, which is my favorite stanza in the whole book. About your toes. Tickle out my toe bones. It would help if I put all the words in there. Tickle out my toe bones, the piggies in a row bones, my leather booted low bones. I miss my fair phalanges. I mean, phalanges. Phalanges. I want to say it like Phoebe in France. Phalanges. I don't know. It just makes me want to say it like that. So you've got toe, row, low. And what I love about this in particular, I mean, the piggies in a row bones is really cute, but I love leather booted low bones. I mean, because they are low. They're on your feet, right? I just think that is so clever. So this is my favorite. Tickle out my toe bones, the piggies in a row bones, my leather booted low bones. I miss my fair phalanges because I'm Phoebe. All right, sorry, Kim, I'm just being silly. So that, in a nutshell, is that. I mean, that is an absolute master of rhyme at work here. And I didn't type it up here, but I did want to show you just the last stanza. In the first stanza, as you can see here, she ended each line with here, and every other stanza in the book ends with bone or bones. But in the very last stanza, she brings it full circle and ends every line again with here, just like in the first one. Now, cast a spyglass round here, while breakers curl and pound here. There's treasure to be found here. I feel it in my bones. And that she actually ends with the word bones is wonderful. So her last words here are exactly the same as they are in the first stanza of the book. So perfect closure for this. And perfect closure for our scattered pirate, who then at the end of the book becomes a whole-ish pirate. So, and there was one other thing I wanted to point out as I was reading this book to myself that I thought was just fun to know. If by repeating that word bone, which is kind of a moaning word, right? Bone. I always wanted to be like bone, right? Now I need my gnaw bone. And also because it is on a feminine rhyme, so a feminine ending, so it goes down. So now I need my gnaw bone. It just goes down. My chicken chomping sawbone. I'll starve without my jawbone. I miss my mandible. Find my upper arm bone. The shield my face from harm bone. You hear that? It's always going down. So it gives me a sense of da-da, da-da, right? This plodding sense. He's underwater and he's looking for his scattered bones. It's kind of not really threatening, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely heavy. It's heavy. You know, a stormy night has passed here. Everything's repeated, but it goes down. And then, you know, just the word choice, the sound choice here, the oh, it's a moan. He's looking for something. He's searching for something. Now, just for kicks, I decided to read the book without repeating bone. You know, obviously it won't make as much sense, but if I do it, listen to the difference in tone when you get rid of the bone. Couldn't help it. Now I need my gnaw, my chicken chomping saw. I'll starve without my jaw. I miss my mandible. Find my upper arm, the shield my face from harm, that armpit of alarm. I hanker for my humorous. Tickle out my toe, the piggies in a row, my leather booted low. I miss my fair phalanges. It's just brighter, right? It's a much brighter sound in that way. And I think, again, a little stroke of genius here, whether intentional or not intentional. The fact is that it happened and it's published, and therefore for me is genius. So getting that tone through the repetition of those long groany words just gives the book a whole other layer for me in terms of tone. So I hope that you enjoyed our book look for today. And now let's get to the writing prompt. Obviously, what's the writing prompt going to be? Using Kim Norman's book, Give Me Back My Bones, as a mentor text. Write yourself a stanza or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you're inspired to do, following this type of rhyme scheme. So you're going to repeat the same word in the first 3 lines as the last word on a feminine ending. So all of your rhymes are going to come on the word right before, the last stressed beat in those first 3 lines. And then you have a 4th unrhymed line. I hope you enjoyed this book look. Thanks, of course, to Kim Norman for chatting with me a little bit about her wonderful book, Give Me Back My Bones. As always, if you enjoyed this content and find it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that little subscribe button right there below, and we'll see you next time.